emails and the feedback. All right. You can see that our revenue is at 37.86%, and which is below, obviously. And but then you look over at our expenses, and in every category in the general fund, we're at least 2% on almost every one of them below what we should be. So with that, I'm thinking that we're holding our expenses. We're really watching them. And so the department heads are doing, I think, under the circumstances, a really good job with that. Then you look at the other ones down through here that we don't have much control over, and see that some of them are just a matter of transfers. Streets, of course, we did a lot of street work, and that were from money that we had accumulated, and there hadn't been street work, and then Dwayne did a lot at one time, and we finished paying that out pretty much in June. And general fund capital is just a matter of transfers, and the court automation and the, of course, fireman's pension is almost always in her head because there's money there, but the earnings from the investments obviously are not keeping up with with the retirement benefits. Then you go on down and look at water sewer, and you can see what's happening there. And pretty much we've got an offset with the water revenue and the loss that the sewer is showing, excluding the I&I funds. And then down in transit, of course, transit is coming along pretty well because transit, the state is now reimbursing 100% of the transit expenses for just the transit, and not the trams or anything, but that's a real boost for us because there will be no funds that we'll have to subsidize transit. We normally don't anyway, but they haven't. I think it was an 80-20 match, and but they're covering the other 20% now, so that's really good. Any questions on the front page? All right, I'd like to.
Lonnie,
Yes.
can I ask a question about front page? Or
I'm sorry?
can I ask a question about the front page? I may have missed it, but did you say that the sewer is draining the I&I funds? What did you say about that?
Microphone.
Excluding the I&I funds, the water is pretty much covering the sewer loss. The water profit is pretty much covering the sewer loss, so it's almost a wash. Not exactly, but close. That's without any I&I funds.
I think he just said the sewer is draining.
I certainly hope so.
Well, if it's not, it's going to be your problem because I live in Fayetteville. So, anyway, is that your only question?
Yeah.
No, is that your only question?
On the front page, yes.
No, is that your only question?
No. Well,
So you want to go ahead with your question?
well, I just would like to ask, with regards to the transfer out to parks of the tax money, I thought the commission or the council had asked you to do 2 separate transfers based on the separate taxes.
We have, but we have not gotten to that yet. That's on the agenda to do.
Uh-huh.
And I've just barely been able to get this out for you because we've had personnel shortage and everything in the world, and so it's just not been done yet. It's on the agenda to do,
Okay.
but we'll try to get that corrected before the next one.
All right, thank you.
Okay, if you go over to page 2 and look at the column that we, and I bring this to your attention because we're all concerned about the situation, but I want you to look at a few things here with me for just a few minutes. There's a column on here that we rarely ever look at, that it's the second column of numbers from the left, and it's the year-to-date balance on June 30th, 2019.
What? It's a comparative.
I'm sorry?
Say again, where?
It's on
It's the second
page
column.
2,
On page 2.
Yeah.
and it's the second column of numbers. And this is on the revenue. Okay, at June 30th, 2019, we had revenues of $1,525,936. June 30th, 20, we have revenues of $1,590,496. So we're ahead of June 30th last year at this point.
Pardon me.
So I just want to call that to your attention, that we're not so far behind where we were revenue-wise. Actually, we're ahead of where we were revenue-wise last year at this point. So, with that in mind,
What do you attribute it to?
what I attribute it to?
Uh-huh.
Well, we had the first 3 months of exceptional sales tax. I mean, that was, I hadn't done a complete analysis. You can look down through there and see the percentages. Now, the percentages don't show in 2019, but you can kind of make comparisons of the numbers, and you can kind of see where they are going back and forth. But if you'll remember, we were really knocking the sales tax out of the park for January, February, March. And we had a just extraordinary, and then everything went downhill at that point. So I did look at them. I can't tell you right off the top of my head where they are, but that was a part of it.
Okay.
Guys,
If you'll go on over to I'll find it here in a second. Go to page 7 and look at the same columns. And this is where our net expenses are for the general fund. This is where expenses exceed revenues at this point. If you look at 6/30/19, we were in the red 258,000. At 6/30/2020, we're in the red 209,000. So that says to me that not only are we some ahead on our revenues, but we are cutting expenses from the previous year. So because we have a smaller deficit at this point, June 30th, than we had last year. So, and if you look on back to kind of confirm that, at the sales tax report that you have, that's this one with a graph on it, toward the back. You'll notice that we had an $80,000 decrease at this point in sales tax over the same month the previous year. So, at any rate, I think that that's indicative of what the mayor and the department heads are doing as we roll along here with the situation the way it is. Has everybody got that one? So we had an $80,000 loss in the previous year in sales tax for that month, but we had almost a $50,000 reduction in our deficit. So I think that speaks to very, very good management of the departments. Mayor, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so, what we're looking at is, I mean, this is July here, but I guess is what you have marked. But we're actually looking at the bills through June, correct? Isn't that right? Isn't this the end of June?
This is the end of June, that's correct.
And, so that's still the income is then for April. Isn't that also correct?
I'm sorry,
The income is also for April.
May.
May?
No?
no, it's April.
No, you're right, it's
This is
April.
April. April sales tax that we're talking
Yes, April sales tax.
about. I mean, it's,
Yeah, that's the
April
only, that's the only
sales.
one that, yeah, the others are current, that's,
I'm
but
sorry,
it's, the other income figures are current, are for the month of June,
that's right,
right, just the sales taxes
that's right,
for May,
absolutely.
or April, yeah, April.
Right, exactly. Because, well, it's just the way the reporting in the state gets it back to us because is the reason for that delay. And like you said, everything else is, for the most part, current, or at least only 1 month behind. So anyway, I think those are interesting numbers because I think it really shows the dedication. Like I was surprised actually when I got this put together because I had not anticipated it being this good at this point because April was really, as you know, everything was shut down. We virtually were not operating, and we had that big sales tax deficit from the previous year, and so I was really pleased when I saw it. I truly was. Terry?
Well, I just want to go back to page 1 then, and you look at sales tax operating, which is 4031. In 19, we were at 300 plus, and this year we're just at 292 plus. That's pretty darn good for the month of April when things were tanked.
Absolutely.
Huh?
Absolutely. And those
I sure think so.
I'm sorry?
I think it's great.
So do I. And because we had those really good months up until this happened, you know, that's part of what I attribute that to.
Where's that money coming from?
I'm sorry?
Where's that money coming from?
The sales tax.
Is it online tax or, I know it wasn't the shops that were closed.
Well, guys, mostly what's going on is I have checked with almost every business downtown. They all have, pardon me, I was trying to breathe. They all have noticed a major increase in daytime or weekday sales. Their weekends are good, but not as good as they normally would have been, but their weekday are blowing their minds. And what I'm thinking is happening is people who can't afford to go on vacation are getting out. They're afraid to come on a weekend when it would be busy and they could get sick, so they're coming during the week, and they're all coming during the week. I think that's what's happening. But almost every single business has shown where the weekday is more than making up for the weekend. Everyone.
Well, I'm hearing it's a strong lodging too, and weekdays also, Mickey, so.
Yeah. That's
Harry,
the
I
thing.
can't tell you what businesses are paying because
I wouldn't ask that. So.
I have,
Right.
I have not gotten a list. I haven't requested the list that you told me about from DFNA, but I will say that in talking, and of course, I think, Mayor, did you put a copy of the sales tax, May of sales tax in for everybody that we talked about?
Do what?
What did you say, Lonnie?
I asked the mayor if he put a copy in with the July sales tax or for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. If you'll take a look at that one, and I don't know if it's in your packet or not, it's because we don't normally go ahead, but it would be May sales, instead of being down 45%, we're only down 30%, and you have it there somewhere. But at any rate, when we look at that, we knew that things started to pick up on Memorial Day weekend. That's when you begin to see people coming into town and some things happening. Prior to that, in May, we were just like April. It was just dead out. And so when we made that kind of gain, it seems like, Mickey, what you're talking about is still holding, because I take a little walk usually at noon every day for a few blocks around, and there are no parking spaces. There are no parking spaces. So people are here, and if you look at the license plates, they're from Texas, Tennessee, everywhere, just all over. And and according to the parking, what we pay sales tax on, it's been pretty good, considering. And I don't have the statistics here because we kind of got a different way of reporting it now. But we paid sales tax on $11,000 worth of parking for last month. We had to pay sales tax on it, so we filed a sales tax report, and that was just the parking was $11,000. So that tells me, along with no parking spaces, the ridership on the trolleys that Smitty reports on every week, weekends or Saturdays at least, he says are dead, but Sundays and the rest of the week are really good. And so anyway, I think that that when we look at these numbers, and all of us, me especially, and you all also, of course, was really concerned about how we were going to go through this, but I think it's looking much better than I had anticipated. So that's just my thoughts on it. And I feel like it's, unless everybody has to close again, I think it's going to continue. And we don't know whether that's going to happen or not. So, at any rate, Bob, surely you have another question?
Don't other people have questions? No, I have a comment, not a question.
Oh,
If we're
okay.
kind of done with questions. This is like a major deal for me, the budget. I feel like it's the most important thing that we do here as council. And at one point, we were getting these reports back on the 15th of the month, which is what the city code requires. And I understand all the problems, but I asked 3 or 4 months ago if there was any way for Kim to let me have this early. Well, she's been sending it to me. This one I got Friday, but she emails it to me, so I've been printing off this, 40-page report every month. I'm wondering, when it's completed, it must have been completed in the middle of last week for Kim to be able to send it to me Friday. Why couldn't you just go ahead and print these and let us have them, and then we would be responsible for bringing this to the council meeting? And that way, I would have this in hand several days before the meeting so that I could actually thoroughly look it over.
Okay, first of all, this is the first time that I recall, since you brought to our attention that it was due by the 15th, that we didn't have it done on the 15th. And there's a lot of things that goes into having it, being able to get prepared by the 15th. And
Right.
one big one is having the bank statements and having all of the bank accounts reconciled before we can actually put the final touches on it. One of my employees, her son tested positive for COVID, so she's out. So that leaves one other person. We have the state auditors over there also. And so we ran over this time. Couldn't help it, just couldn't help it. Between the phone, taking payments and everything, even though, we ran over.
Right.
Now, in answer to your question, I think that we talked about emailing it to you and you didn't want to print it.
Well, I mean, I have a little hand printer, home
And,
printer, and I do get it on email, and this Friday was the first time I didn't print it. I just
And,
thought,
it makes no difference to me, you can have it any time, but after we put several other things, you're getting more information now than you've ever gotten, that council members ever gotten before. And Kim she takes a lot of time preparing this front sheet. She gets the report after we get finished with it, and she prepares that. And so,
well, who actually prints all these for the council meeting?
I printed Kim was printing each one of them. And because we're running shorthanded and Kim's running in about 9 different directions and trying to get everything done, I started printing all of it except the front page. And of course I prepare the schedule of all the bank accounts and the sales tax reports comes out of my office also, and so on and so forth. But anyway, so I've been printing all of the 30 pages for each council member.
Well then, and I understand the problem, and I'm not even attempting to have you do it by the 15th. But my point is, Kim emailed me this thing Friday morning, which means it had to have been done on Thursday, at least, at the latest. And so if it was done on Thursday, why couldn't you, or whoever, just print it on Thursday, and then we could all pick it up, and we could have it for 3 or 4 days before the meeting today, instead of walking in here and having it handed to us, when the meeting starts.
Bob, I don't know. Whatever we can work out that's satisfactory to everybody is fine with me.
Yeah.
Because whenever I get finished with it, I'm done with it.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't, does anybody else mind stopping by the city hall to pick it up if they can get it early? And then we would just, we would be responsible for bringing this to the meeting, and I've heard somebody say, oh, well, they won't bring it. But that's our responsibility. If we fall through on our responsibility, that's on us.
Well, I can assure you
Yeah.
that, there'll
Susan,
be,
you had a question?
I do.
I'm
So
sorry.
Lonnie, based on the numbers that are here, I know we still have several months to go before the end of the year, obviously. But based on the last couple months not being what you originally thought
right?
they were going to be, does that change your budget for the year? Like, are you, I mean, we're all hopeful that it will be better than what we thought it would be, right? I guess what I'm asking you is, and I guess maybe this is for the mayor too, are you hopeful that within the next month or the next 2 months that you will be able to possibly reinstate a couple things? Or are you planning on just waiting till the end of the year? I guess what I'm saying is, are there any emergencies that really do need to be taken care of that this is helping with, or that we can change the budget to reflect the increase in revenue?
We're still going to have the mid-year budget coming up, hopefully at the next meeting in August.
Okay, so,
We'll have all our figures in. We're getting new data from the department heads. We got some issues coming up because of more people coming in and because of the the governor's mandate on masks. So we're going to have to look at the police department, public works. So there's some things we're going to have to look at and readjust
okay,
for our mid-year budget that we started out at a month ago, when we had the June meeting, when we cut everything down.
okay,
So we're going to be re-presenting that, or presenting, that amended budget back to the council
okay,
for the mid-year budget review.
okay. And that's based just on some of the things that, a couple months in now, that you're realizing?
Right.
Okay, okay, all right.
If I could add to that, what I would add to what the mayor just said, is from what I'm seeing, if we, of course, we need to make some adjustments, like he said, of course, but if we don't really adjust this budget a lot, we're going to have to do a few things, like was said, but if we can go ahead and work with the department heads and everything, I think we can make this budget work,
Okay,
from what I'm seeing.
I would think that would be prudent, considering the plague is still going on, and we don't know what's going to happen by the end of the year, so we certainly need to be cautious.
That's correct, and if you can see right here in this budget that everyone has stepped up to the plate and they've done their best. And so the numbers show that, and I think that we can continue to do that, and I think that other than some of the things the mayor's talking about, we'll be okay, unless there's something that shuts us down.
and you said that you'll have that by next month, Butch?
Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Okay, all right.
So,
Mr.
but
Thomas?
then does council need to add to the agenda tonight, scheduling the mid-year budget meeting?
Well, that's something I was going to probably go ahead and put on the agenda myself, but the council can do that. I mean, it depends on if we get everything. So much of this depends, Mr. Thomas, as you remember, getting all the data in, balancing the
Right.
books. It's not just a matter of, of getting everything. So there's a lot of paperwork going on. What our goal was to look at being able to have everything ready by our first meeting in August. So unless something comes up, that's the way I was going to have on the agenda.
Well,
So if the council, you
Yeah.
know, we can certainly do that whenever we get to the meetings.
okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Lonnie, what time of month do the check statements come in? Are they all at the same time, or are they?
Yeah, they come in a bundle, and it's usually about the 7th or the 8th of the month before we get them. And there's about, 30 accounts,
I was
and
going to say, there's
and all of those have to be
a
reconciled.
bunch of
and-
balancing to do, yeah.
and everything. But back to your situation, Mr. Thomas, I'll work with you anyway, in every way possible to get what you want, whenever you want it. And whatever will work for you, but remember, we're running really thin over in the
Oh, I know,
in the
yeah.
office at this time. So, anyway, but,
So did you run these today then, or when did you run these?
no, I ran them. Oh, I ran them, I don't remember, one day last week.
So then we could have all come by and picked them up last week.
Well, Kim would have done hers, her and analysis and everything and put on there. And of course, like I said, she's extremely busy
Right.
with all the recording and everything and all. I ran these on 7/21.
Okay. Well, if I could pick up the big bundle, when you run it.
You don't have to have her analysis, no.
Well, that's what I'm saying. She could email me this page, and I'd be happy to print one page at home, So
I mean,
that would work out perfect, yeah.
Whatever will work
Yeah.
for you, we'll try to accommodate.
All right, thank you much.
Does everybody else want to do the same thing? Is that what you want to do, or you want to wait and pick yours up here like you're doing, or?
Considering the way the lockdown is and the COVID and asking people to come to the door and hand me my copy, I think I'll wait till the meeting until this thing's over with.
Okay. What about everybody else?
If you
So
have it ready.
we can print them out, and if people want them, they'll be there available, and if not, we'll just bring them to the meeting.
Okay.
Solve that.
Sounds
Thank you,
good.
Lonnie, I appreciate that.
For whoever doesn't want to pick them up, we'll have them.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Good job, Lonnie, thank you.
Well, I was just, the numbers, I was just kind of floored whenever, and we rarely look at that same column last year when we're going through one of these workshops. And if you'll just look at that, it will tell you kind of where we are and what we're doing. Because we didn't have this situation at this time last year. So, anyway, anything else?
Thank you.
We get to keep the lights on.
Yeah,
Thank you, Lonnie.
you bet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we have about 5 minutes for our regular scheduled council meeting starts, so take a little 5-minute break.
I know.
Can you hear me now? One, two.
Have everybody here, if we get a roll call, Madam Clerk, to establish quorum?
Harry Meyer,
Here.
Melissa Green,
Here.
Bob Thomas,
Here.
Mickey Schneider,
Here,
Terry McClung,
Here,
Susan Harmon.
Here.
All right, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, I have one item. I would like to put on here a discussion, possible resolution ordinance for permanent easement to go before the voters, for a permanent entertainment district to go before the voters.
What? An ordinance for a
Permanent entertainment to go to the voters.
do you need a second for that?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
All right, anybody else have anything? Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, city council needs to establish the time and date for the mid-year budget review.
I'll second that.
Okay. Anybody else? Ms. Green?
Should we just table resolution number 4, the resolution to the governor, since he mandated masks?
I would think so,
Okay.
unless there's somebody who has a problem. We will just, we won't table it, we just remove it.
Just remove it, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anybody else? Mr. Meyer?
The solar project, I think we should probably put that off till next meeting since it's 200 pages and we just got it.
The person is here,
Okay, we can hear
the
him.
representative.
That'd be fine.
And the attorneys looked at it, so the contract on there. Anybody else? Get a motion to approve as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Get a motion to approve the minutes for July 13.
So moved.
Second.
Any additions, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I think we have Parks second quarter written report.
No,
No, that's not, that's what we're due. They haven't got it completed yet.
Did we get their first report?
yes, first quarter, yes.
Yeah, we got the first quarter.
Okay.
We got the cemetery second quarter report is in your packet, in there.
Okay.
Would like to make a note, though, that we do have a couple of vacancies on parks, and also going to have an expiration on HDC in November. Other than that, public comments.
A long list of public comments tonight. Damon Hinkey here, representing Ozark Mountain Vacation Rentals, maybe a little bit of the chamber, and a lot of downtown business owners or pub owners as well. There's been a lot of discussion about the entertainment district. And I think what I've talked about to some of you and most anybody who would listen is the fact that we're spiraling toward a vote on an entertainment district that's already going to be sunsetted. I'm interested to hear what you talk about tonight, but I just wanted to lend my support to try and figure out whether we should have a vote on an entertainment district that may be a possibility, and we can bring the committee back and reconstruct that however we want, or if the mayor wants to say however it needs to be constructed. I think it would be a great opportunity to find out what the community really thinks about an entertainment district or not an entertainment district. So I'm very excited to hear that we're possibly going to be able to have an actual vote on something that matters at the election, and I certainly support that and hope that we don't just go into a vote where we vote on something that's already sunsetted that isn't going to count for anybody, because that doesn't give us a very good feed on what people really think. So I appreciate that, and I look forward to hearing what you're going to decide on that. Thank you.
Do we have anybody else? All right. Okay, that's great. We do? No. Is that a no?
No.
Okay. That brings us up to get a motion to discuss the contract on solar project.
So moved.
Second?
All right. Mr. Coleman is here, who's been the representative of this project for us, and he's been putting a lot of work in, and I know you guys have looked through, or I don't know whether you've had a chance to, because there's a lot of legalese, but our city attorney has reviewed that contract. But I had Mr. Coleman come to kind of give us a brief summary and be able to answer any questions that you might have. So, Mr. Coleman, you want to kind of give us a brief summary of?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you a rundown of kind of what we did in the project when it started. Can you hear me okay?
No.
No.
How about now? Is that better?
Yes.
Better.
Okay. I'll kneel down. So we were hired back in late 2019 to start the investment grade audit process on your 14 facilities. We were looking at energy efficiency, water conservation opportunities, and solar to reduce your energy and water costs as a city. So we went through that process. In February, if you'll remember, we brought forward the solar project. At the time, we were about to bring the energy efficiency portion of the project to the council as well, and it was determined that you wanted us to go ahead and look at the hospital at the same time. If you remember, that was about the time the hospital ownership transitioned. So we did a thorough review of the hospital at that time, and it was still kind of in flux, and so we decided that we didn't want to include any energy efficiency improvements from the hospital because there may be redevelopment, more substantial redevelopment, and we were concerned that maybe we wouldn't recoup the investment from those efficiency measures at the hospital. So we ended up setting that to the side, but it did kind of prolong the audit phase. So that's why we're here in July. About a month ago, we presented our findings to Mayor Berry and Lonnie and went through that investment grade audit and defined what they wanted the project to be. At the same time, we provided the contract to Mayor Berry and the city attorney to review. And so while I understand your point, it is significant, including the audit information and the contract itself. But we presented about a month ago, and so the attorneys had a chance to go through it and provide comment back and whatnot. So we feel pretty good about that. The project itself, as I mentioned, is over 14 facilities, or includes over 14 facilities. The solar project that you approved back in February is almost 500 kilowatts and is going to provide a little over $17,000 a year in savings. So that's exciting. You know, I know it's something that the city of Eureka Springs has been looking at for a long, long time. And for decades, you know, solar was an investment that you made if you really cared about greenhouse gas emission reduction or, you know, getting to clean energy. But the great thing about the economics of it now is you can achieve those marks and save a pretty fair amount of money at the same time because of some really favorable laws in Arkansas. So we're doing that as part of the project. That $17,000 is going to contribute to the savings of the project, where we're also going to do an LED lighting retrofit on over 600 fixtures. We're going to install over 100 water conservation fixtures throughout facilities. And then on the HVAC, heating and air conditioning, we're doing some controls, Ecobee thermostats that are Wi-Fi enabled so you can have better control of your HVAC equipment around the city. We're doing some HVAC tune-ups, and then we're replacing 10 HVAC units that are well past their useful life as part of the project. So the key is this is going to generate a little over $42,000 in annual energy savings. That savings is then used to pay for the project itself. And so I mentioned the price tag is $458,602. That's a guaranteed maximum cost to do the project. And then the guaranteed savings, which we have to guarantee, is a little over $42,000 a year. So it's just under 11-year payback. We've been working with Lonnie and then Raymond James, who you used on the bond refinance. We're looking at a 15-year term on the loan at a 3.5% interest rate. And so that's going to generate cash flow every year. The savings is going to be greater than the required payment for the loan. So that's how we structure all of our projects under the state law as required. The energy savings has to be greater than the loan. And the great thing about this, and the reason that we package these projects this way, the solar project, as I mentioned, generates significant savings every year. The LED lighting, as y'all are probably aware, has a really quick payback. We actually get a little over $7,000 in incentives from SWEPCO to help fund the LED lighting retrofit. Water conservation has a pretty good payback. And so we bundle those projects that have shorter paybacks or generate immediate cash flow to help fund those projects like what we call deferred maintenance, like a heating and air conditioning system that may be 20 plus years old that needs to be replaced. The payback on that, if you're just looking at pure economics, is going to be 15, 16 years. So it's not really an energy project as much as it is addressing a need within the city. And so you've got a handful of HVAC units that are well past their useful life. And so we're able to use those other measures to help pay off the HVAC units as well as part of the project. So that's it in a nutshell. As I mentioned, we've worked really closely with Mayor Berry and Lonnie and other city staff to develop the project. Through the investment grade audit phase, we had come up with a long list of items, not just these. It was really just a whole menu of the different things that were potentially possible. And we really, through coordination with city, refined what that project should be and what was really important to the city to get done. And one of the really key things was obviously that the energy savings is greater than what you're going to pay on an annual basis for the loan itself, but also to generate some cash flow for the city. We recognize with COVID and the hit to the tourist industry and whatnot, this will generate some cash as well as part of the project, which is going to be a nice complement at the same time. That's really everything I wanted to cover. Are there questions that I can answer? Yes, ma'am.
Just have a question about the HVAC
Sure.
units. The lifespan on those is around 15 to 20 years,
That's
correct?
correct.
That's the type that you're putting in right now. When are you going to install? Is that going to happen in year one, or are you going to space the 10 out over a 3-year, 5-year, 2-year?
No, that's a good question. So as soon as we get the contract agreement, we'll come up with a construction schedule, what we call a construction schedule, and we will implement all of these measures all at once.
Okay.
Because the units that we are addressing are those that are already well past useful life. We don't want to spread it out over time, but go ahead and address the 10 units that we've identified. One thing that I thought, as you mentioned that though, what we do is we'll implement in fact, we started the solar process quite some time ago. So we're already starting the implementation on that. The LED lighting, water conservation, those things will happen quickly. And then that will start generating savings in what we call year 0 before the construction is complete. And so that savings can be applied to the project before you ever have to start payment. And so that's a nice bonus in the way that we structure them. So the HVAC units will be last in our construction process, but they'll all happen pretty much at the same time.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, at the beginning of this, I was under the impression that we weren't going to be buying anything except for electricity from your solar panels.
So the
Is that-
solar, that's a good point. So the solar project, and I should have defined that clearer, is under a solar service agreement. So we're doing all of the capital investment for the solar. The $458,000 that I mentioned is for the energy efficiency pieces only and water conservation. The solar project, we're doing all the capital investment, and then we're charging a rate, like a kilowatt hour rate, just like you would see on your electricity bill.
Right.
And the rate is lower than what you were paying SWEPCO prior to that. And so that's where that savings comes from. Or I'm sorry, Carroll Electric. We're doing the Carroll Electric side.
Well, Carroll Electric is the tiny part. SWEPCO is the big part of our electric bill.
Actually, it's the reverse. So Carroll Electric is about 800,000 kilowatt hours a year in consumption, and SWEPCO was 230.
I thought the sewer plant was the only thing on Carroll.
Oh, no.
It's, yeah.
Carroll was here first.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
So
but
to speak.
No, that's okay.
that was just the way, okay,
It's
so.
part of our audit process is looking at all of the accounts associated with each
That's
facility.
fine, I'm just confused.
No, that's fine.
So, it's going to require that the city borrow money and invest in this stuff, is that right?
No, the contract is, we're buying it through the company.
So the solar services agreement will be our capital investment for the solar project.
Right,
And then the energy efficiency and water conservation piece will be a financed purchase through which Raymond James, from talking with Lonnie, is the preferred financier. The savings from the solar project and then the savings from the LED lighting, the water conservation, the HVAC is greater than what that note, the loan note will be through Raymond James, and will cover that cost. So that's how we built this.
you'll forgive me, but I don't have any of that stuff in front of me right now.
No,
And
that's-
even if everyone looked at it, I can't vote for this until I look at the figures, the numbers.
We had all that before. We had all that.
There's 200 pages sitting in my email right now,
Oh,
okay?
no, I meant we had paperwork.
There's 200 pages in my email right now with the details after
Okay.
this is all, and that's what I need to read. Do you understand me?
Anybody else further questions? Well, I do need to know whether the council wants to go ahead and proceed with this. If so, I need the authorization to enter into the contract with them for this.
I move that you go ahead and sign the contract.
I'll second that.
Okay. Mr. Weaver, do you have any comments? And I know you've reviewed it, you've looked through it. Do you have any concerns?
No, I don't have any concerns. The numbers are not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at trying to find problems that might arise in the future, and I don't necessarily see any that are going to come from the documents that I can tell. The numbers are something council's going to have to assure themselves with, so, because they're not my type of thing to look at, but the wording of the contract does not concern me at this point.
All right. Anybody else have any comments, questions? All right, got a motion and a second to go ahead and enter into the contract. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
5-1. All right. Thank you, Mr. Coleman. We will get back with you and get this started. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, our next order of business is ordinance for the bed and breakfast definition change. Get a motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss.
That's not ready yet.
Second.
Oh, it's not ready yet.
Okay.
Okay, so we will defer that until next week, or next meeting. Our next item is ordinance for level 3 HDC application fees. Ms. Green, Mr. Snyder. Ms. Snyder.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
All right, and we do have that ordinance in front of you. Ms. Booth was here last time and went over it with everybody, so any questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to assign this a number? And
I'll
read-
make an motion to sign this ordinance number and read it for the first time.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so moved.
The ordinance number will be 2296, an ordinance amending Section 2.64 of the Eureka Springs Municipal Code as to Level 3 Historic District applications and fees, whereas the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, has made a comprehensive study and review of Level 3 procedures described in Section 2.64 of the Municipal Code, and whereas in the opinion of the City Council, certain changes should be made to the code. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, that Section 1, Code Section 2.64.07 should be amended by adding a $50 fee for Level 3 applications for a certificate of appropriateness from the Eureka Springs Historic District Commission. Section 2, Code Section 2.64.09 should be amended to read as follows. Procedure for issuance. A, the Historic District Commission may hold such public hearings as are necessary in considering any application for certificates of appropriateness within a reasonable time not to exceed 30 days after the filing of an application for a certificate of appropriateness with the Historic District Commission. The Commission shall determine which property or properties would be materially affected by the proposed work and immediately send by mail postage prepaid to the applicant and to the owners of all such properties to be materially affected. Notice of the hearing to be held by the Commission on the application. This mailing will be to property owners within a 100-foot radius of the property for which an application for Level 3 major impact work is made. Level 3 work includes new construction of a building with a footprint over 200 square feet, demolition of a building with a footprint over 200 square feet, enclosed additions to an existing building, removal and/or addition of stories, and moving a building. An application fee of $50 shall be charged to allay costs accrued by city staff for the public hearing notice requirements. Section 3, repeal clause. All ordinances, resolutions, and parts thereof in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict.
I get a motion to approve the ordinance 2296 on its first reading.
I move to approve the ordinance 2296 on its first reading.
Second.
I got a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved. All right, that brings us to our next order of business is a resolution for code of conduct. Mr. Meyer and Ms. Snyder. Get a motion to discuss.
So moved.
Second.
All right, who wants to go first?
I move to assign the resolution a number and read it for passage.
Okay. Got a motion to assign a number and read for passage. Do you have a second?
Susan, were you the second?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
Mr. Thomas? What's your vote, sir?
Pardon? Is this a voice vote or what?
Resolutions are one-time reads. It takes a roll call.
Okay. Yes, I vote yes.
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Ms. Harmon?
Yes.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
6-0. The resolution before you will be numbered 782. A resolution establishing a code of conduct, whereas the City Council of Eureka Springs, Arkansas desires to adopt a code of conduct as a reference and guide for its members. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas to adopt the attached document entitled Code of Conduct.
All right. That brings us up to our next item is get a motion to discuss discussion for ordinance for established to
So moved.
permanent entertainment
Yeah,
district
second.
revoked.
Make a full motion, darling.
All right, got a motion and do I hear a second?
Yes.
Okay, Susan, second. In your packet, there is a ordinance calling for an election to refer the issue of allowing the use of the Act 812, which allowed us to have a permanent entertainment district, to the voters. This is mainly because the present thing that is on the ballot actually refers a ordinance that has a sunset clause that expired. The sunset clause expired in September. So this puts it back on, not back on, but gives the voters an opportunity to decide once and for all whether or not they want to have an entertainment or an arts and outdoor dining ordinance. A lot of cities are doing that, so that's what this ordinance is all about. Ms. Green?
Well, I think this is a great idea. This doesn't mean any of us are supporting or non-supporting of it. I think our citizens have a right to decide this. They, referendum, and I don't think they quite understood that really it was sunsetted, so the vote was almost null or void, and I think this was a good idea.
Ms. Harmon?
I just have a question for you, because I know the reason why you're calling it, how should I say this? There have been several discussions about people in town calling it something different than a permanent entertainment district. But this is the verbiage that Tim said would make most sense because that is what it was called by the state?
Mr. Weaver, did you understand the question?
Yes, that's the usage of the words that they used in the act that they used to create it. So that's what I used there. So there would be no confusion potentially that someone was referring to some other type of activity.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. McClung?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we assign this ordinance a number and read it for passage.
Second.
Reading.
I got a motion and second to discussion. Mr. Meyer?
The emergency clause is so it can get onto the ballot in November, is that the deal?
That's correct.
Has to be done by then? Okay, thanks.
Any further comments, questions? All right, all those in favor of signing this a number and reading it for the first time, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved.
The ordinance number will be 2297, an ordinance calling for an election to refer the issue of allowing the use of Act 812 of 2019 of the Arkansas Legislature to create a permanent entertainment district to the voters of the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, declaring an emergency to exist and for other purposes. Whereas the City Council of the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, has made a comprehensive study and review of the use of a permanent entertainment district. And whereas, in the opinion of the City Council, the citizens should be heard on this issue. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, that Section 1, the County Board of Election Commissioners is hereby notified as required by Arkansas Code Annotated that ordinance number 2297 has been passed, directing that an election be held on the next general election date. To refer to the voters of the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, the issue of allowing the creation of a permanent entertainment district within the corporate city limits of Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Section 2, said entertainment district would be subject to all state and local regulations. Section 3, attached hereunto is the ballot title to be used. Section 4, repeal clause, all ordinances, resolutions, and parts thereof in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict.
I get a motion, Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, I move to pass ordinance 2297 on its first reading.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I get a motion to,
I move to suspend the rules and place ordinance 2297 on its second reading by title only.
Second.
okay, motion been second. Any further discussion? Okay.
Mr. Meyer?
Oh, whoops, wait a minute. Yes, ma'am?
Would it hurt to go ahead and read the wording for the people to be able to know?
We can read that in a minute.
Okay.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
Ms. Harmon?
Yes.
6-0. Ordinance number 2297, an ordinance calling for an election to refer the issue of allowing use of the Act 182, 812 of 2019 of the Arkansas Legislature to create a permanent entertainment district to the voters of the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, declaring an emergency to exist and for other purposes.
I move that we suspend the rules and place ordinance 2297 on its third reading by title only.
Then we have to vote.
Oh, we have to vote.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes, I move to pass ordinance number 2297 on its second reading.
Second.
Further discussion?
Voice is okay?
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Before we go for the third, I would like to read the ballot as it would appear on the ballot. There'll be a box that says 4, allowing a permanent entertainment district within the corporate city limits of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, according to regulations promulgated and times set by state and local authorities, or against allowing a permanent entertainment district within the corporate city limits of Eureka Springs according to regulations promulgated and times set by state and local authorities. That's how the ballot will read on the, at the election deal. So I'll be willing to listen to, hear a motion for the third.
I'll move to suspend the rules and place ordinance 2297 on its third reading by title only.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes,
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Ms. Harmon?
Yes,
6-0. Ordinance number 2297, an ordinance calling for an election to refer the issue of allowing use of the Act 812 of 2019 of the Arkansas Legislature to create a permanent entertainment district to the voters of the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, declaring an emergency to exist and for other purposes.
Get a motion to approve ordinance 2297 on its third reading. Mr. Thomas?
Yes, I move to approve ordinance 2297 on its third reading.
Right.
Second.
Discussion? All right, hearing none.
Ms. Harmon?
yes,
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
yes,
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
6-0.
All right, I need to get a motion to read the emergency clause.
I make a motion to read the emergency clause
second,
on 2297.
All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes.
Ms. Harmon?
yes,
Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
yes,
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. McClung?
Yes.
6-0. Section 5, Emergency Clause. Since it is necessary to quickly address issues of use of a permanent entertainment district within the city for the preservation of public peace, health, and safety, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall take effect and be in force from and after its passage and approval.
All right, so moved. Thank you. All right, that brings us up to last item is setting a time and date for mid-year budget. I'm thinking that's a workshop, Mr. Thomas.
We would have to vote on it.
This is a question about for discussion. That was the item that you
okay.
were wanting to talk about.
Right.
To make a workshop as opposed to bringing it on the agenda for council.
I thought you were suggesting that we were going to do it before the meeting. That would be a workshop.
I wasn't,
Oh, okay.
I wasn't saying one way or the other.
Okay, well
so-
then I just moved to have the time and date set for the mid-year budget review as being Monday, the first Monday in August at 4:45.
we've got a Parks workshop.
That's next Monday.
That's Parks workshop,
Oh, I said the second Monday. We meet on the second Monday,
the
sorry.
second Monday.
It's the second Monday in August at 4:45.
I'll second that.
All right, do I have a discussion?
Wait.
We have a comment from the,
July financials until after the 15th. So to truly take a picture of mid-year, you're going to want to include July financials.
of course.
And those aren't going to be ready until after the 15th of August.
Which is a Saturday.
Okay. I'll withdraw my second.
Mr. McClung?
I think it's important that we have figures from all the department heads as well. So I really think it's probably wise if we wait until the mayor has all that stuff available, because it may not be ready by the date that we should set, have it as early as, so I think maybe that might be prudent to give the mayor the time to get everything together, and then we could set it.
Works for me.
So then we would be possibly setting the date at the first meeting in Monday, or possibly setting the date at the second meeting in August.
Whatever it takes to get,
Okay.
so we got everything we need. There's no sense of going there, half-loaded.
Right. I just was not wanting it to be an addition to the agenda with no notice to the public. That was my concern.
So do I get a withdraw of the motion and the second?
I withdrew the second.
And I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. We'll make sure we get it done and get it out as soon as possible and get notified, so. All right. That concludes our normal scheduled meetings. We'll get to our agenda setting now. Ms. Harmon?
I just want to know, are we deferring the bed and breakfast definition changes until the next meeting for sure? Okay. And then I just have one other. A while back, originally, we had on our agenda to discuss the employee handbook. That was removed several months ago as far as updates go because, we had a few other
Yeah, and we
things
still
happening.
haven't proceeded. We've gotten tied up with a lot of other things, so I'm
I'll
still.
second that, Susan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to have at least a discussion so that we can determine when that will
Okay.
happen.
Anybody else? All right, brings us to council comments. Mr. McClung?
I just have one thing. I had a citizen emailed me today and property adjoining others down on the down by the Ellis house that big trees were cut and land cleared, and it was implied to me that there were no permits on any of it, that it was just done, and pretty aggressive stuff. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and see if maybe you couldn't follow up on that. I did not have an opportunity to even drive down there today when I got this email.
Okay, well, you and I can talk about it afterwards.
Sure, you bet, that's fine.
Okay. Sure. Ms. Harmon?
No.
Mr. Meyer?
No.
Ms. Snyder?
I'd like to be last, please.
Ms. Green?
Well, I just wanted to comment. I think somebody else, Mickey commented on the businesses downtown. I'm hearing really great things. I'm hearing a lot of innovation and how to keep business going. Someone from Main Street called me, and instead of getting awarded a $15,000 grant, they got awarded $25,000 that will go into our downtown, so that's a great thing. So I think a lot of good things are happening, and I think we need to keep with it and build on it.
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, I have two comments. First, on the code of conduct, I'd just like to point out to everybody that this will allow us to support our chair when we have someone who's not following the code of conduct, because you can then call point of order, and when the chair asks you what your point is, you can refer back to the code of conduct to specifically identify a behavior that's a violation. So this is going to be a useful tool if everybody will keep it on hand and see what the specific rules are. The second thing, I would just like to ask everybody to please get the chair's attention before you make a motion or before you move to do something. It's kind of frustrating for those of us that are sitting here willing to raise our hands and wait for recognition when other people are just shouting out what the motion they want to make is or what the move they want to make is. So I would appreciate it if we'd kind of just follow the rules that say you have to get the chair's attention before you can speak.
Ms. Snyder?
Okay, I have an announcement that I don't want to do and I do want to do, and it's going to be very emotional. So just be forewarned. And I'm announcing this now so that the people who have signed my signature and all those who have been counting on me will know ahead of time and be prepared. I will be resigning at the end of this term and will not be running. I am backing totally Laura Jo and Autumn Slane for Ward 1. I think both of them will do a fine job. I'm thoroughly behind them, plus they know they can always ask me for any questions they might have or any problems. It's been 12 long years, and Terry, you know what I'm feeling. Right now, I'm too emotionally out of it in regards to friends who've had problems. So I will be here for the rest of the term, and then I'm going to take a break. I may come back, who knows? But I will be retiring at the end of this term. So thank you very much, everybody.
All right. I actually have 2 reminders of some very important information for the citizens of Eureka Springs and for whoever's listening in the county. On August 7th, all Arkansas County Health Departments have been tasked by the State Health Department to hold an after-hours mass COVID testing event. Ours in Carroll County is going to be scheduled for Friday, August the 7th, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Berryville Community Center parking lot. There'll be no out-of-pocket expenses, no screening with or without symptoms. So please go and get tested on August 7th. Again, that's from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Bearville Community Center, a free COVID testing event. And I hope everybody takes advantage of this. Also, they'll be looking for volunteers to help sign in people. So if you're interested in volunteering, please contact the County Health Department. And I'm sure they can find you a job to do during that point. And not only signing people in, but probably directing traffic and other things. The second, and I know I'm probably sounding like a broken record on this, but it's so very important, and that's our Census 2020. This is really important for our future, particularly now, because the census results have a direct bearing on the municipalities getting their fair share of funding for vital services for schools, roads, fires, streets, police, and many other public services our community needs and deserve. So please go to my2020census.gov. That's my2020census.gov and complete the online census. It only takes a few minutes. It's easy to do if you haven't already done it, but it's very important because we need to get a good count on our citizens in Eureka Springs. It also has a bearing on our voting districts, not to mention the financial. So again, your information is protected and confidential, and the most important thing of all, it helps our community. So please go to my2020census.gov. And that's all I have at this point. Everybody be safe, and I take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
It is feeling easy to fill out. I was amazed how easy it was.
It is. I feel mine.